Anderson Givens had always lived an active life, balancing his work as a florist in the seaside town of Larkridge, California, with weekend hikes in the coastal redwoods. But by his mid-30s, he started experiencing an unforgiving ache in his lower back that refused to subside. Over time, the pain became unbearable, sharpening like a blade with every movement, radiating down his legs until he could barely walk. After exhausting physical therapy, chiropractic visits, and months on painkillers, he was referred to Pacific Haven Hospital's spine unit. That was where he first met Dr. Calvin Matt, a man with a polished demeanor and credentials that seemed impeccable. He wore confidence like a second skin and spoke with the reassuring authority of someone who had been doing this for years. When he recommended a lumbar stabilization surgery, Anderson barely hesitated, anything to have his life back. What Anderson didn't know, and what no one at Pacific Haven had bothered to verify, was that Dr. Calvin Matt's pristine reputation was a house of cards. Just 3 years earlier, he'd been quietly stripped of his medical license in both Colorado and Nevada due to a disturbing series of surgical errors and patient complaints. Yet through a complex web of paperwork, legal appeals, and out-of-state license transfers, he managed to acquire a provisional license in California, slipping into Pacific Haven Hospital's rotation like a shadow through a crack in the wall. His past was buried beneath administrative red tape, and Anderson Givens was just the latest in a string of patients unknowingly placing their lives in his hands. On the morning of Anderson's surgery, the mood in operating room 3 was tense. Dr. Matt had arrived late, his surgical scrubs askew, a look of impatience etched into his brow. The anesthesiologist, Dr. Patel, noted his agitation but said nothing. He'd learned early in his career not to question a lead surgeon mid-routine, but something was wrong. As the procedure progressed, Matt cursed quietly, then louder, until he finally ordered the surgical techs to halt. The titanium rod meant to be implanted in Anderson's spine, the very component needed to stabilize his vertebrae, was missing from the tray. A miscommunication with inventory, a shipment delay. No one was quite sure, but Dr. Matt wasn't about to reschedule. He was already behind on 4 other surgeries and refused to lose time. Then, in a moment that would haunt everyone in that room, he did the unthinkable. Dr. Matt stepped out of the sterile zone, rummaged through a utility drawer, and returned holding a long, stainless steel screwdriver. "Sterilize this. Now," he barked. The staff froze, unsure if he was joking. But his face betrayed no irony. A nurse protested. There were protocol violations, safety regulations, chain of custody rules. But Matt cut him off with a glare. "We either do this, or we wake him up and tell him we cut him open for nothing," he snapped. Against their better judgment and under duress, they sanitized the tool. Matt sawed off the plastic handle with a bone cutter, filed down the shaft, and with the precision of someone more concerned with completion than care, implanted it into Anderson's spine. The operation was closed up, notes were signed, and everyone was sworn to silence. At first, Anderson thought the recovery pain was normal. Back surgeries were known to be brutal, but after a week, something felt wrong. Deep wrong. He couldn't sit upright without a bolt of agony shooting through his body. Every step was like walking on glass. His follow-ups with Dr. Matt were short, dismissive. "Give it time," he'd say, avoiding eye contact. "Pain is part of healing." But at night, Anderson would cry into his pillow, whispering to himself that something inside him was tearing apart. By week 4, the pain crescendoed into a catastrophic snap. He fell to the ground mid-step, screaming, unable to move. Paramedics rushed him to the ER. A CT scan revealed what should have never been. A screwdriver lodged between his vertebrae, rust already beginning to form where his spine should have fused. The ER doctors were appalled. No one could understand why an industrial tool was embedded inside a human body. The radiologist thought it was a mistake until multiple scans confirmed the same. A screwdriver shaft had been used in place of medical-grade titanium. When a risk management officer contacted Pacific Haven's legal team, panic erupted behind closed doors. Within hours, Dr. Calvin Matt had resigned. By the next day, he'd disappeared. Investigations began quietly at first, too quietly. Anderson, meanwhile, underwent emergency corrective surgery. The damage was extensive. Nerve endings had fused incorrectly. He would never walk without pain again. Anderson filed a lawsuit, not just against Dr. Matt, but against Pacific Haven Hospital and the state's medical board. The courtroom overflowed with media, activists, and victims of similar malpractice. The defense tried to paint Anderson as a complicated case, but the X-rays of the screwdriver silenced the room. During testimony, Anderson broke down, describing the moment he saw the image of the tool inside him. "They treated my spine like a junk drawer," he sobbed. The jury took less than a day. The hospital was ordered to pay $3.2 million in damages. For 2 years after the surgery, Anderson lived in constant pain, walking with a cane and enduring one complication after another. His adventurous life was gone, replaced by advocacy born of suffering. He became a fierce voice for surgical transparency and national credential tracking, speaking out on medical panels and campaigning for reform. His story sparked legislative changes in California, mandating cross-state license verification and criminalizing reckless improvisation in surgical procedures. Pacific Haven Hospital faced public disgrace. Its board resigned, several staff were indicted, and internal protocols were overhauled. But Anderson didn't live to see the full change he ignited. Just shy of the 2-year anniversary of his botched operation, he passed away from sepsis caused by yet another spinal infection. His family continues the fight in his name, ensuring the world doesn't forget the man who died because a surgeon used a screwdriver instead of a proper medical device. There are few things as terrifying as betrayal by those sworn to heal. Anderson trusted a man in a white coat, a symbol of safety, and woke up with a hardware store tool in his spine. The case of Dr. Calvin Matt is a chilling reminder that credentials are not always truth, that reputation can be forged, and that vigilance must be constant. In his pain, Anderson found purpose, and through his suffering, countless lives may be spared from similar horror. In the end, he teaches us not just to question authority, but to hold it accountable before the scalpel meets the skin. Subscribe to the White Coat Crimes for more shocking true stories, medical crimes, medical mysteries, and the dark side of healthcare you were never meant to see.